has severe cerebral palsy and fetal alcohol syndrome. This is why his voice is so high-pitched. The reason he always seems congested is because the things he consumes go into his lungs instead of his stomach. This is why he can't eat solid. This is also why he's struggling to gain weight. He was supposed to have been coming back to see a specialist and to get CAT scans, but she told the family he wouldn't see another doctor until God healed him because they don't have the last.
Following the alleged disclosure of Junior's brain scan results, things quickly changed after CPS had apparently been monitoring Chrisean and Blueface for months. Chrisean stopped acting as though she was untouchable all of a sudden. Reports state that physicians have finally published their findings. And after that, things became quite serious. This focuses on Chrisean Rock's response after scans purportedly revealed that Junior had fetal alcohol syndrome and severe cerebral palsy. According to some, her collapse began when the medical paper trail she'd been warned about became public. Everything she dismissed earlier lives began to appear more like proof after those images came to light. The tone shifted at that point. This wasn't abrupt or arbitrary. The scans just named problems that people believed they had already witnessed unfolding in real time. According to a family relative, Junior weighed only 18 pounds when he was 2 years old. They claimed that because food was supposedly getting into his airway rather than his stomach, he was unable to eat solid foods and was always bloated. Medical doctors say that type of airway problem can be quite harmful if treatment is not received. Additionally, according to that same family member, experts had previously discussed Junior's brain impairments and purportedly connected them to alcohol consumption during pregnancy. According to reports, their explanations were explicit and well documented. The assertion that Junior was expected to see several specialists in return for follow-up scans is what truly startled people. According to the family member, Chrisean promised them he wouldn't see another physician until God healed him. Many people who were observing from the outside were alarmed by that comment alone. Instantly, old clips began to resurface. During live streaming, viewers relived scenes in which Junior seemed to have trouble breathing or sounded congested. During his first few months, people saw the breathing machine in her room. They recalled how spectators' attempts to point out that something didn't seem right were dismissed with laughter. One particular tape in which Junior was heard gasping for air while Chrisean pretended to be laughing started making the rounds.
And then why give a book to me like something wrong with my child? You feel what I'm saying? And it's not that, oh, she's just in and out, she hurt, she responded. No, that was just weird. But I know, right, has nothing to do with your guessing and what you think you know about me and my son. You feel what I'm saying? So it's not that I didn't like the book. It was just like, how old are you? You feel me? Like, you weird.
People said that it hit differently after hearing what was purportedly in those medical papers. And that moment was again played back after the scam leak. Online parents, caregivers, and medical professionals intervened, stating that pneumonia or aspiration in a kid that young can quickly become life-threatening if left untreated. Many pleaded with her to take him to the ER rather than just praying for him. She continued to live throughout it all, which exacerbated the criticism. The way Chrisean responded once the scans were made public was what really made things worse. When an author handed her a children's book designed to help parents of children with special needs, she became irate rather than slowing down. According to reports, she referred to the woman as odd and maintained that Junior was fine. Given that she had earlier stated that Junior was already receiving therapy, some saw that response as outright denial. She then seemed to be offended by the implication that he could require additional support. There was no need to explain that paradox. On its own, it spoke loudly. Next, Blueface was asked the one question that had been circulating. Was Junior Ronnie's child or his? He hung up right away. Considering that he is typically outspoken, fans took note immediately. The rumor continued after he declined. It was restarted. Junior's circumstances felt much more precarious when he heard later remarks about not pursuing low co-parenting success rates. For this reason, individuals continue to bring up CPS. This didn't happen in private. Pregnancy lives, alleged drinking and smoking, confrontations in public, jail time, and even surgery for a hernia that apparently only occurred after pictures were posted. According to family members, a second procedure has not yet taken place. Years of public documenting and the frequent, chaotic handoffs between relatives made individuals ask the same question more loudly. How can a youngster who has obvious breathing and neurological issues continue to be overlooked? A lengthy Reddit discussion explains why many people think intervention ought to have taken place sooner. Thus, if CPS has been paying attention and those brain scans do indeed reveal what individuals say they do, then it would no longer be about online indignation. Instead, it would be about timelines. Who knew what when they knew it, and why until supposedly documents began to leak? The question is straightforward if the scans are authentic and medical warnings have already been issued. Did this go unnoticed long enough to become illegal? Or does someone continue to wager that it will never get to that point? Fans were no longer the only ones speaking after the scans were made public. Family members began talking in a tone that suggested they were aware of how this might turn out. Tessiki, Chrisean's sister, said on the internet that her own kids were afraid of Chrisean. She claimed that Chrisean wanted her to live on the streets with her and accused her of abandoning her children to be with strangers. In her
To be homeless, she wanted me to go through stuff. Look at all the fans that was attacking me for her. They didn't even give a about my daughter or nothing that she did to my daughter, hitting her, not feeding her, not taking care of her while I was locked up.
family members' public remarks like those start to seem more like character issues rather than clumsy online drama. Particularly when those same family members also claim that Junior requires ongoing medical care that is being postponed. Some claimed that Junior was still a newborn and attempted to soften the early video. Viewers claim that even though Junior is now 2 years old, the same issues still exist, if not more so. People frequently comment on how he's strapped into a stroller or held. Rarely seen on the floor playing, rarely interacting with toys. No evident routines, no defined bedtimes, constantly outside, constantly moving, never settled. People began to think that this child never truly had a fair chance at that point. Not only due to heredity, but also because early intervention never seemed to be reliable. Chrisean allegedly presented that worry as personal hatred each time it was brought up. However, these instances don't appear random when people line them up. Junior is dressed in bulky Timberland-type boots on clubbed feet, which many people felt were needless and uncomfortable. In previous clips, Junior was shown traveling in the rear of a car without a seatbelt or car seat. On its own, each moment might be dismissed. When taken as a whole, they create an image that unnerves many people and raises the same query. While Chrisean worked out, Junior was seen lying directly on a filthy gym floor. A basic pack and play is less expensive than a pair of sneakers, others said. And none of it held up well when those clips came back. Following the purported leak of the scans, the same movies began to circulate once more, this time as timestamps rather than rumors. Viewers' attention is drawn to Junior's respiration for a reason. His laughter doesn't always appear to be joyful, as several fans have observed. Some medical professionals speculated that it might be a neurological reaction in which emotionless laughing occurs. The worry was nearly increased by that notion.
Seizures. Gelastic seizures are a very rare type of seizures that come from an area of the brain called the hypothalamus. It's kind of in the base of your brain, and these are very interesting looking seizures. The patient who's affected by the seizures looks like they're laughing out loud when in reality nothing is funny. Usually patients don't have loss of awareness with these seizures, and they're not actually having a good time even though they're laughing. It feels very, very uncomfortable.
Family members' public remarks like those start to seem more like character issues rather than clumsy online drama. Particularly when those same family members also claim that Junior requires ongoing medical care that is being postponed. Some claimed that Junior was still a newborn and attempted to soften the early video. Viewers claim that even though Junior is now 2 years old, the same issues still exist, if not more so. People frequently comment on how he's strapped into a stroller or held. Rarely seen on the floor playing, rarely interacting with toys. No evident routines, no defined bedtimes, constantly outside, constantly moving, never settled. People began to think that this child never truly had a fair chance at that point. Not only due to heredity, but also because early intervention never seemed to be reliable. Chrisean allegedly presented that worry as personal hatred each time it was brought up. However, these instances don't appear random when people line them up. Junior is dressed in bulky Timberland-type boots on clubbed feet, which many people felt were needless and uncomfortable. In previous clips, Junior was shown traveling in the rear of a car without a seatbelt or car seat. On its own, each moment might be dismissed. When taken as a whole, they create an image that unnerves many people and raises the same query. While Chrisean worked out, Junior was seen lying directly on a filthy gym floor. A basic pack and play is less expensive than a pair of sneakers, others said. And none of it held up well when those clips came back. Following the purported leak of the scans, the same movies began to circulate once more, this time as timestamps rather than rumors. Viewers' attention is drawn to Junior's respiration for a reason. His laughter doesn't always appear to be joyful, as several fans have observed. Some medical professionals speculated that it might be a neurological reaction in which emotionless laughing occurs. The worry was merely increased by that notion.
That's why sometimes I wish I never had my kid, because of the evil stuff that's
carried over your head.
No, it's like
just how the evil in the world.
Yeah, so much evil, but even it's close to my kid. It's in his daddy, it's in his grandma, it's in the people that.
I think that's now why
clout. My baby is clouted out too. Like, he got hella clout, bro.
People want to know if this remains in denial mode, or if it becomes intervention. Whether someone intervenes before the damage is irreparable or intervenes early enough to alter the course of events. This has nothing to do with canceling Christian rock. It concerns whether warning indications were disregarded for long enough to have an impact on the law, medicine, and future. That question doesn't go away once it's on the table. The fact that there isn't a clear cutoff point or a dramatic moment where everything instantly corrects itself is what makes this ending unsettling. That's not how it works in real life. Right before a choice is imposed, what people are currently witnessing seems like the slow part. Someone must finally take action when there is sufficient proof, enough witnesses come forward, and enough patterns become apparent. The risk makes it impossible to ignore, not because the internet demands it. The most difficult aspect is that none of this had to get to this point. There is a purpose for early intervention. There is a purpose for specialists. There is a purpose for follow-ups. People are pointing out all the off-ramps that were missed when they argue that this situation feels preventable. At the time, they all appeared diminutive. One excuse after another, one missed appointment, one dismissed worry. Those little decisions add up to something much larger over time. Additionally, people's reactions are changing. The volume has decreased. It's meticulous, almost methodical. Comments aren't where people argue. They are arranging data. Timelines are being compared. They're storing data. That's typically what occurs, correct? Prior to external systems taking over. The discussion has progressed past emotion when the audience begins naming files instead of shouting. Ego, pride, fear, and the desire to be correct rather than accountable are the things that make things more difficult. Under public scrutiny, confessing that anything is incorrect can feel like admitting failure. Denial, however, does not stop reality. It merely slows down reaction. Delays might sometimes be the riskiest option when a child's health is at stake. Tearing Chrisean rock down is not the goal here. Actually, it never was. The question is whether protection will arrive in a timely manner and whether the adults involved, including Chrisean rock, Blueface, and others around them, can set aside their own conflicts long enough to concentrate on one small person who isn't given a voice in all of this. Children are not allowed to select their surroundings. They have no right to insist on care. Adults are necessary for them to pay attention, act, and follow through. Intervention won't appear to be an online drama if it takes place. It will appear to be quiet. Documentation, scheduling, supervision, organization, and the sort of dull stability that people seldom ever discuss on social media. And the internet won't forget if it doesn't. It's because the record already exists, not because it desires chaos. When something is sufficiently documented, it becomes independent. This conclusion is not a judgment. There is a fork in the road. Accountability and course adjustment are the results of one route. The alternative increases danger, delays, and justifications. People don't wait to be shown to be correct. Before the expense becomes irreversible, they are waiting to see if someone eventually steps up. And so, as this situation continues to unfold, the reality that we are witnessing is far heavier than the usual online drama or celebrity controversy. What started as live streams, viral clips, and speculation has evolved into a discussion about responsibility, timelines, and accountability, where every missed appointment, every dismissed warning, and every moment of denial contributes to a much larger picture, one that involves the well-being of a vulnerable child who cannot speak for himself. People are no longer simply arguing in comment sections. They are meticulously piecing together evidence, comparing timestamps and analyzing patterns that span years, all in an effort to understand whether intervention occurred when it should have, or whether inaction allowed potentially preventable harm to continue. The names Chrisean Rock and Blueface have become central to this narrative, not because of celebrity status, but because they are the adults responsible for a child whose development, health, and safety are at stake. Observers, family members, medical professionals, and the online community are all asking the same hard questions. Were warning signs ignored long enough to have legal and medical implications? Did anyone act early enough to change the trajectory? And if not, why? There is a sense of urgency now that did not exist before, a recognition that early intervention, consistent care, and diligent supervision are not optional, they are essential. This isn't about public shaming or canceling culture. It's about recognizing that children rely entirely on the adults around them to advocate, to act, and to ensure their basic rights to safety, health, and stability. While social media made these concerns visible to the world, the solution will not be found online. Real change will be quiet, structured, and methodical. It will be documentation, appointments, follow-ups, therapies, and routines that provide a stable environment where a child like Junior can thrive. And yet, the stakes are enormous because the longer inaction continues, the greater the risk that damage becomes irreversible and the clearer the consequences become for all involved. People are watching not to punish, but to ensure that those responsible finally prioritize the needs of a child who cannot advocate for himself. The forks in the road are stark. One path leads to accountability, intervention, and meaningful support, while the other leads to continued delay, denial, and potential harm, with public attention serving only as a chronicler of what was missed. Observers are aware that progress won't be flashy or trending, it will be measured in quiet victories. A doctor's visit kept, a therapy session completed, a stable bedtime maintained, a small improvement documented over time. And while this may seem mundane compared to the spectacle of celebrity feeds and viral clips, it is exactly what matters. In the end, what people are really waiting for is action, not drama, not spectacle, but a genuine commitment to the safety, development, and future of a child whose life depends entirely on those around him. Every clip, every comment, every timestamp has become part of a record that cannot be erased, a timeline that demands careful attention, and a public archive that may very well influence the next steps. The world is watching because the record exists, because warning signs were visible, and because history has shown that in situations like this, delay and denial can carry serious consequences. It is a tense and delicate moment, one that asks adults Chrisean Rock, Blueface, and everyone in their circle to set aside ego, pride, and conflict to focus entirely on a child's needs, to act decisively where hesitation has reigned, and to provide stability where chaos has too often taken its place. The outcome is not yet determined, but the choices made in the coming days, weeks, and months will define not just the narrative online, but the real, tangible future of a young life. Every observer, every family member, every concerned professional is holding their breath, tracking patterns, documenting everything, and hoping that finally intervention will replace neglect, that consistency will replace uncertainty, and that a child whose laughter sometimes seems incongruous with joy will have a chance to thrive in an environment shaped by care, attention, and accountability. The question is no longer if the story will continue, it is whether the story will end with safety, healing, and responsibility, or whether it will be remembered as yet another cautionary tale of warning signs ignored, timelines overlooked, and lives disrupted when intervention came too late. And so, as the world watches, one truth remains unchanging. Children cannot wait, they cannot plead, and they cannot demand care. The responsibility lies entirely with the adults around them. And it is now up to them to step up, follow through, and ensure that the smallest voices are finally heard and protected. As this story continues to unfold, the reality becomes increasingly stark. What began as viral clips, online speculation, and fleeting attention has evolved into a matter of urgent concern that transcends social media commentary. This is no longer about views, reactions, or trending topics. It is about a child whose life, health, and development are directly impacted by the actions or inactions of the adults around him. Observers, from family members to medical professionals, have painstakingly traced timelines, reviewed video evidence, and documented inconsistencies in care, raising the question that hangs over every decision. How long can warning signs go ignored before real consequences emerge? Chrisean Rock and Blueface are at the center of this scrutiny, not because they are celebrities, but because they are the adults responsible for Junior's safety and well-being. Every missed appointment, every dismissed concern, every instance of denial contributes to a larger narrative about accountability, responsibility, and the importance of early intervention. What people are witnessing is not chaos for entertainment, it is a series of events that, if left unchecked, could have irreversible effects on a child who cannot advocate for himself. The attention this has drawn is not accidental. It is a reflection of patterns that have become impossible to ignore, moments of potential neglect captured on camera, shared widely, and analyzed in painstaking detail. The calls for intervention are not about judgment, they are about ensuring that the basic rights of a vulnerable child are upheld, that medical care is sought when necessary, and that consistency, supervision, and structured support replace uncertainty and improvisation. There is a growing recognition that intervention will not be dramatic or viral, it will be methodical, quiet and deliberate, consisting of appointments kept, therapies completed, and routines maintained, building a framework of stability that can offer a child like Junior a real chance to thrive. The alternative, a continuation of denial and delay, carries with it the weight of potential harm and the possibility of preventable consequences. And that is what observers, family members, and concerned professionals are weighing with each passing day. The focus is no longer on spectacle. It is on accountability, on timelines, and on ensuring that adults who hold power over a child's life act decisively, setting aside personal conflict, ego, or pride to prioritize a small life that cannot speak for itself. Every time-stamped clip, every documented concern, every online discussion becomes part of a larger record, a digital archive that may very well influence real-world decisions and interventions. And while some may view this as an online drama, those who truly understand the stakes know that this is about more than clicks, it is about life, health, and the opportunity to provide care where it has been delayed or denied. As the world watches, the question remains, will action be taken in time, and will it be sustained with the consistency and seriousness required to make a difference? Or will the warning signs continue to be ignored until consequences are unavoidable? For every moment that passes, the responsibility grows heavier and the implications for the child become clearer. Observers are watching for evidence of real change, for structured routines, medical attention, and deliberate care, the kind of intervention that cannot be faked, laughed off, or dismissed. The future of Junior depends entirely on the choices made now, and the stakes could not be higher. Accountability is no longer optional, and the public record ensures that history will not be forgotten. Every decision made from this point forward will shape the life of a child whose voice has been silent in this narrative, whose needs have been consistently overshadowed by spectacle, and whose development has been jeopardized by indecision and denial. It is now up to the adults involved, Chrisean Rock, Blueface, and those within their immediate circle to act with urgency, diligence, and care, to follow through where they have failed before, and to provide a foundation of stability, attention, and protection that can truly make a difference. This is not about shame or punishment, it is about the most fundamental responsibility a caregiver can have to ensure that a child is safe, seen, and given the opportunity to grow, learn, and live as fully as possible. And as the scrutiny continues, as patterns are examined and timelines reconstructed, one truth remains undeniable. Children cannot advocate for themselves, they cannot demand care, and they cannot wait. The responsibility now lies squarely on the shoulders of those around them. And every moment of delay is a moment in which that responsibility is heightened. The stakes are amplified, and the urgency becomes undeniable. The record is clear, the evidence is there. And the question now is whether action will match the scale of need, whether intervention will replace neglect, and whether accountability will finally become more than a word, transforming into tangible care, structured routines, and a real chance at a life that every child deserves. As we wrap up, the focus remains where it should always be, on Junior and his well-being. This story isn't just an online drama. It's a wake-up call about accountability, intervention, and the consequences of ignoring warning signs. Every clip, report, and claim that surfaced only underscores how important it is for adults to act responsibly and decisively, putting personal conflicts aside to protect a child who cannot advocate for himself. The patterns are clear, the timeline is unfolding, and the eyes of the public are watching closely. What happens next could define his future, and it reminds us all that vigilance, care, and timely action are critical. For those who have been following every twist and turn, this is far from over, and the story will continue to develop. Stay informed, pay attention to the facts, and always ask the questions that matter. For continued coverage, deep dives, and updates on every development, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for Celeb Drops, your go-to source for breaking stories and thorough analysis, bringing you the truth as it unfolds.